So just want to kind of go through some pieces of your homepage. Again, this is just basic navigation. This is essential for everyone. You've got your navigation menu on the upper left-hand side. This will show you all of the dashboards and applications that you have available to you. So this is really where you can, kind of how you can navigate through Workday to find the reports or the tasks that you'll need to complete. The BYU logo up in the upper left-hand side. Anytime you're in Workday and you need to come back to your home page, so this home screen, you'll just click the BYU logo. The search bar is up in the middle, and this is super robust. I kind of think of it like Google. You can type in the name of a task, the name of a report, the name of a person, anything that you're trying to find in Workday, and you should be able to get results based on your security. So that's key, right? So what one person types in and is able to find might be different than what someone else types in and is able to find, again, all based on security. Over on the upper right, you've got your notification. So that's the little bell icon. Anything that comes to your notifications is just an FYI. So it's nothing you need to act upon. It's just kind of like an email. Hey, this happened, or hey, this employee was hired, or this comp change has been approved. So FYI, no need to act upon it. Versus your inbox or my tasks is actually where there are items that you are going to need to act upon. So this is where anything that needs to occur, anything that you as a business partner and ops specialist need to review or approve or provide input on, it'll always come to your My Task. Workday used to call it the inbox. I still call it the inbox. It looks like an inbox. Most of these, if not all of them, you should also receive email notifications for in Outlook, and then you can link directly to Workday. And then in the upper right-hand corner, I know it's small on these screens, but upper right-hand corner would be your photo. And you can click on that and access your profile. Your profile has a lot of information, well, really all information about you as an employee. And then you, in your role in HR, will be able to access other employees' profiles as well. All of this we're going to demo in Workday in just a minute. Yeah.
I just was wondering about the consolidation. For example, right now, if I've got some outstanding purchase requisitions or marketplace orders to approve, there's a a place that I can click and I can see everything that's outstanding that needs to be done. Will everything be consolidated into that My Task, the
Yep.
financial and HR?
Everything. Anything you need to do in Workday will be right there. Yep.
Including Chrome River transactions?
No, Chrome River is still going to, well, Chrome River is going away. Thank you.
But
Yeah.
the equivalent.
The equivalent. Yeah. Expense. Yep. All your travel and expense will be here as well. Yeah.
Like I said, we need a.
All right. So then we've got kind of the center screen of your Workday homepage, inbox preview. So things that are that have come in right away will show up right in the middle. So be right there when you open up Workday for you to act upon. Delivered task suggestions. So this is pretty cool. I'm a manager within my role at Cognizant, and so sometimes I will get some suggestions of, hey, you have a team member with upcoming absences, just FYI, if you need to reach out to them about anything. If I have a team member who has a birthday coming up, I get a little notification in my timely suggestion saying that I have a team member with a birthday coming up. So again, it uses a little bit of machine learning to kind of look through, your team or your different tasks and give you some updates right in the middle of things that you might need to act upon. And then over on the right, you've got your quick tasks up in the top and then down your top application. So this is configurable for you. I can show you how to do that. And again, you can go to your upper left-hand navigation menu to access all of your applications. But if you know there are 4 that you use all the time, you can configure that so they show up on your homepage, which is pretty cool. And then the top section, quick tasks, again, that uses a little bit of machine learning on the back end to say, okay, these are things you click on all the time. So I'm just going to put them right here for you. All right. So My Tasks. So again, everything requiring your action will appear here. This also contains your archive tab. We're going to use that a lot. We're going to use it a lot today. You're going to use it a lot going forward. This shows a history of actions that you've completed. So both things that have come through your inbox that you've approved or acted upon, or transactions that you've initiated. It allows you to see the history of it. So what steps have been completed and where is it currently sitting? So if something, maybe you initiated it and then it went somewhere for approval and you're kind of waiting, hey, where did that go? How, who's it waiting on? You can look in your archive tab and essentially see where it's held up, right? Whose desk is it sitting on? Which is pretty cool. And end users, anybody can do this. Anybody who initiates a task in Workday can go in their archive tab to see where it's currently sitting. Related actions. So this is affectionately called the Twinkie because it looks like a Twinkie. This is a icon or a button that appears next to any object in Workday. Objects can be candidates, employees, organizations. Objects is just a fancy Workday term related to just something you can click on, right? So like Cosmo Cougar, it's blue, hyperlinked. You could click on that, and then you've got the related actions next to it. Yes, did you have a question?
So I was just gonna ask, where are you? Because I'm not seeing that, but you know.
We're just doing slides right now. We'll go into the demo in a little bit. Yeah. So the related actions will provide additional actions to take. So again, based on security, you can click the related actions and you might be able to perform specific actions on that employee or on that organization. And again, I'll hop in here in just a minute and show you how to do this. All right. So here we go. Let me go ahead and hop into Workday. My mouse works.
Click advanced.
All right, and you're welcome to follow along. We're going to go through a couple of the activities in your activity guide. I'm just getting in as my fake HR business partner. Okay. I am in Workday as Harper HR. She is my wonderful fictional HR business partner. She's also, she's a business partner, she's a comp partner, she's kind of all the things. So again, if you're, looking at my screen and saying, oh, it might, things look slightly different on mine than they do on yours, that's totally fine because she just kind of has all the security. So just going through quickly what we just reviewed on that slide, I've got my menu up here. This has all of the different applications that I can use in my role. This is our home button, so I can be anywhere in Workday. Let's just go to my profile really quick. I can be anywhere in Workday. We'll come back to this in just a minute, and then I can click this BYU icon and it'll come right back to my homepage. Search bar right up here in the top. So if I click in this and I type, I'm just going to type create job requisition. That's something that we're going to do later on today. Even just type create job rec. Really, you only need 3 letters, and it's going to kind of predict what you think or what it thinks you're going to search for. Again, similar to Google. Here are all of the different tasks and reports that I have access to. So a lot of different ways. Workday is great in a sense that there are 5 different ways to get to one thing, right? And you all get to kind of choose how you like to navigate within Workday. We're going to show you what we think are the simple ways, but again, you can. Once you get familiar with Workday, you can kind of decide how you want to navigate. Over here, we've got your notifications. So again, the bell icon, these are just FYIs. This one is just saying, hey, you have a Workday account now. So as Harper HR, I was hired 15 days ago. I've learned a lot in my 15 days. And then this next one here is your inbox. So my inbox is empty, which is great. So I've cleared out all of my tasks. If I had any tasks, they would all appear here, and I would also have the number, right? The little, the number, the red number telling me how many tasks I had awaiting my action. This is your archive tab here. we'll talk about that a little bit more later when we get into some processes. We'll actually, show you how to use the archive tab and what it can be used for. And then, of course, I've got, there's nothing awaiting my action because I'm all caught up. These are those timely suggestions. So just, hey, you might want to update your contact information. It's been a while since you've updated it. And then those quick tasks, and then my top applications. So again, homepage, don't worry about what these icons are on the left. If you have them, you might not have them. These are all related to recruiting, and we'll talk about that more next week. I'm going to just show you my profile now. I'm going to go over to my Harper HR photo. I'm going to click view profile. So this is all of my basic employee data, right? So I've got, if you look over on the left and you click more, kind of look through all of these tabs. We're not going to click through all of them, or I'm not going to click through all of them. You're welcome to click through on your own profile, whatever you want to take a look at. This has all of my job details, right? So what's my position? What has my work history been while I'm here at BYU? Benefits information, any absence related information, pay, my comp history. And then if you go all the way down to the bottom is more on that talent, performance, feedback, my goals. So really you can almost think of your profile as like your HR record, right? This is like your HR file. If you remember, I mean, when I started, which I don't feel like I'm that old, but I started working in HR in 2009 and we still had a paper file room with paper files. This is kind of like your HR file, right? This has your employment information, your comp information, pay, all of that great information that makes up your employee record. From here, I can get directly to the org chart. And I personally think the org chart is one of Workday's best features. So if I click this team icon right here and right below my photo, this is going to take me to a visual org chart. I am personally a visual person, so I love to see the org chart. Who reports to who, and kind of how is everything structured within BYU. Wow, mine's going quite slow. So when I click on the org chart, I'm going to, I'm going to minimize this just a little bit so I can get a little bit more. There we go. Tap down. Okay. So here is me, right? I am Harper HR. I report to Max Manager. Okay, so Max Manager is my direct manager. The number here that's circled, if you can read that, that says 24. That means Max Manager has 24 direct reports. So if I scroll down, I see all of the individuals or vacant positions, and we'll talk about that in just a little bit, that report to Max Manager. So Max has 24 positions that report to him. Some might be filled, some might be unfilled. Okay. So Lightning McQueen, Mickey Mouse, Snow White, they all report to Max Manager. If you scroll up, then you can continue to go up the org chart, right? So Max Manager and his peer, who is also named Max Manager, not to be confusing, they both report to Sloan Senior Leader. And not sure what's going on. This happened a couple days ago too. This tenant's just going a little slow. So Max Manager and his buddy, Max Manager, and again, right, you would not see this in the live system. We just have two different fake training organizations that we've been using. They both report to Sloan Senior Leader. If you scroll up a little bit more, Sloan Senior Leader and his peers all report to Mikilani, and so on and so forth. So again, we're in a training environment. Things are going to look a little different than they will in the live system, but you get the point, right? That this is really how you can see the entire organization. You can, from here, if I go to, scroll down, if I just click on Max Manager, I'm going to go directly to his profile. So play around with that when we get into the system and go through the activity. And just remember, what you see on your own profile is going to be a lot, right? You get to see everything. It's you. You can see your social security number, you can see your birthday, you can see all of that personal data, your comp, your pay. What you see on another employee is going to be a little bit different. Now, you all are HR professionals, so you will see a lot more than, the average CAMI campus employee. But still, there are certain things that you'll be able to see on those people that you support versus maybe the people that you don't support. Okay. All right, last thing, what I realized I missed, related actions. So if you hover over any of the blue hyperlinks, I like to use the phrase, I can't take credit for it, but we affectionately say in Workday, if it's blue, you can do. So if it's blue and hyperlinked, you can of course click on it. You can also just hover, and that's where you'll get the related actions. When you click the related actions, it's going to show you any actions that you can take on that particular object. So for Sloan Senior Leader, I can, I have a lot of access again, because I'm kind of all powerful within our fake tenant. I can, request comp changes on him. I can do, initiate transfers, initiate terminations, all from that related actions button. There are also a lot of other ways to get to those same tasks. This is just, again, one way that you could get there. All right. Questions on anything we just went over? Yeah.
How do you get back to the level above max manager, back to where you were?
Yep. So I would just go back to a lot of different ways, but I would just go back to the team right here, the org chart.
Okay.
Yes. I'm so sorry. This is not, the fact that this is going so slow is a little. So I just went back to the org chart. I can scroll down and then, I would click Harper HR. I also, since that's me, I could also just go up here to my profile photo and go view profile and go back to me. Any other questions? Now, did everybody do that with me, or do you want to take a minute to do it on your own? Take a minute. Okay, I'm going to take, let's take just a minute. So we are on, if you look at your activity guide, we're on the first page, general navigation. So we're going to do, I can flip back to my slides, 1.1, 1.2, and 1.3. So we're going to keep going. We're still kind of on some Workday basic information. Now we're going to talk about some core concepts that are really, really pertinent in your role as an HR professional like Workday. So we're going to talk about organizations, position management, security roles, and business processes. So first, organization. So Workday loves organizations, and at its core, this is simply a way to group employees. We're organizing workers into groups serve a common purpose. This is really representative of how BYU is structured. And again, they're used all across Workday. The most important organization, and don't tell our finance friends this because they might argue with me, but what I think the most important organization is our supervisory organization. So this represents our who reports to whom structure. So this is essentially an org chart. It's what we just looked at when we were in Workday at the org chart. This does not have like a one-to-one relationship with the department. Although that's, that might seem intuitive, that might seem like what it would be, it's not, right? Every organization is made up of individuals that report to one manager. So there could be multiple supervisory organizations in what you would consider a department. Right. So, for example, I, as Harper HR, let's say I have 3 people that report to me. Those 3 people that report to me, they are a supervisory organization. They are Harper HR's supervisory organization. Okay. Now, me at Harper HR, I'm not in that supervisory organization. I'm in a supervisory organization with my peers. So if me and 2 other people, or 4 other, or 50 other, doesn't matter. I'm just going to say 2 for simplicity's sake. Me and 2 others, if we all report to one manager, let's say we report to Max manager, the 3 of us are in our own supervisory organization, right? Now Max is not in ours, right? Max is in his own supervisory organization, and so on and so forth. Okay. So super, super important, because this is really what drives security. So I mentioned earlier, that you all will have security to act upon individuals in specific supervisory organizations. That's how your security is built. You're assigned to a manager, right? And that gives you security to everybody within all of those supervisory organizations, right? Whether it's just one manager and two people and then it stops, or one manager, then three managers, then all of their direct reports, all of their direct reports, and so on and so forth. Okay. So everyone is a member of a supervisory organization, and you're only a member of one. Right, now technically, it's a hierarchy, right? Because it's an org chart, so we're all members of, you know, a ton, all the way up to our president, right? But technically, you are a member of just that one supervisory organization that's owned by your manager. Make sense?
I was looking at mine, and some students who work in the lab are in the same level supervisory organization as me and the other professors. I don't know if that's just a hiccup or because they should really be underneath some, in my mind, they should be underneath someone else.
Yeah, so again, the data might be, again, it's from April, so yes, but that's a good point. So it is truly your direct manager. So somebody asked in another session, are there dotted line managers?
Yeah.
There might be kind of internally, like I report to this person, but I really report to this person. Within Workday, that is not depicted. So it's truly whatever you're going to see in those org charts in terms of their supervisory organization is who approves my time, who approves my absence requests, who is my, you know, it's my direct manager. So in which case it might be a professor, right? I think that's probably common. But again, don't worry about the actual data that's in there right now. Cost centers, also super important. This was my joke about don't tell our finance friends because they probably think cost centers are most important. But of course, very, very important. This is where the money is. This is how we group financial transactions, budgets, and our workers, right? Every worker is part of a cost center, right? That's where your position money comes from, right? We're going to take a look in Workday in just a minute. You'll see all the different organizations that you are a part of. Cost centers, of course, is super important. Supervisory organizations, super important. You'll also see others. So locations is another one, and this is just core and foundational to Workday. For other organizations, so for BYU, this is pretty simple because for the most part, you all work here, right? You all work at the BYU main general campus. Now, that's not 100% true, right? You also have FSY, right? That could be kind of out of state. You do have other locations that are going to be in Workday, but for the most part, you all are BYU general campus. Now, other organizations that use Workday, right? Because we've got thousands and thousands of organizations that use Workday. Other organizations, they could be global, right? So I need to know all of the employees that work in China, or all of the employees that work in the state of Washington, right? It has tax implications, it has legal implications, right? So locations are very, very core to Workday. Just know that at BYU, it's a little more simple because most of you work here. All right. So position management, so that was organization. We're going to go through 4 core concepts. And this is not the only time we're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about organizations over and over and over and over today. So if it's still a little fuzzy, that's okay. Position management, we're also going to talk about this a lot. So, and this is different. This is a change to how you might think about positions today. So when I mentioned the supervisory organization, so Max Manager, let's see, Max Manager is my manager, which he is in Workday. Max Manager had that 24 number, right? So he has 24 positions that report to him. So we like to think about positions as chairs. So if you think about a table, Max Manager has 24 chairs around that table, 24 positions. So some of them are filled, right? I, as Harper HR, I fill a seat. I fill one of those positions. A few of them are open. So even those open positions are still showing up in Max Manager's org, right? Because they still report to him even though they're vacant. Every individual at BYU, every employee, whether they're a student, faculty, adjunct, part-time, full-time, staff, whatever it might be, every employee is going to have their own position, their own seat. Okay, so I think that's the part that's a little bit different. I think you do some position management today, but in other cases, you might have multiple people in one position. Each employee has an individual position that has a job profile attached to it, and then of course, a position number and position details. We'll talk about that in just a minute. So what's really cool about position management, again, if you think about the table analogy and those open seats, when we build out positions, so let's say my position is Harper HR. My position says that it has security attached to it, right? It says that I am an HR business partner for a certain organization or multiple organizations. My position is a full-time position. My position is here at the BYU Central Campus. My position has a specific compensation grade, right? It has a range, the HR business partner, my position has a compensation grade and a range that typically, my pay would be in between. My position has a management level, right? What's my, do I manage people? Do I not manage people? Okay. That is all just, that's core to the position, and it doesn't change based on who is in that position, right? The security on it doesn't change, the management level, the pay grade, that range. Now, me as Harper HR, I have specific position data. So I filled that seat, I filled that position. I have my own person data, right? My personal and contact information, my performance related information, my goals, my talent related information, my history, right? My worker history here at BYU. How have I moved around? My compensation, right? So the position has a comp grade that has a range, but me personally, I have my own comp number, right? That's based on my resume, my years of experience, etc. So position data is really independent from person data. That makes sense? So what this does, the benefit that this gives BYU is that, here's my my HR business partner position, that seat at the table. I win the lottery and I leave tomorrow. Well, that position is still there with all of that security attached to it, all of that position related information, so that when somebody else comes, they fill that seat and they have that security access. They have all that position related information. Now they have their person information, of course, that they're going to keep on them, and it's going to move with them as they move around at BYU. But that position information, we don't have to go back in and create a brand new position for the new Harper HR. Good so far? All right. Security is also very, very important in Workday. So this drives what you can see, what you can do. Again, we've already talked about this a little bit. We'll continue to talk about it. We talked about it as it relates to the position. So the HR business partner security role is on that position. So all we got to do is hire somebody into it. I don't know if so I come from a PeopleSoft background. I helped implement PeopleSoft at a college in Texas way back when I started my career. And I remember the hassle of getting security for an individual. You'd hire a person, then you send an email to the security team saying, you got to copy this person's security. Oh, but not all of it, because they also need this security, and we need to make sure we get this security as well. And when you transfer positions, getting your security adjusted when you transfer into new roles, such a hassle. We don't have that with Workday because it's already attached to the position. All you got to do is hire somebody in, they automatically have that security. Two ways that you'll want to think about security as well. So in your role as an HR, either business partner or ops specialist, the role of HR business partner, I'm just going to use that, but it's same as ops specialist, right? It's essentially universal across this room, across the 170 some odd people that we have coming to training in terms of what you can do, right? You all can initiate terminations. You all can initiate job changes. You all can create job requisitions, or so on and so forth. So that's pretty universal. Now, where it gets a little bit different for individuals in this room, and then in all of the other groups that we've been training, is who you can act upon, right? So again, that goes back to your organization chart, right? So somebody in what do we have in here? Life sciences, and who do we have? Fine arts, and we have humanities. Okay, so somebody in fine arts cannot terminate somebody in humanities, right? They can only terminate people in their org or transfer or initiate a comp change or whatever it might be, right? So security kind of goes both ways. It really drives the transactions you can perform. It also drives who you can perform those transactions upon. Right? What if you don't have security? So again, the people that you support in this current Workday system might look a little funky just simply because we probably have people that are still in there that, you know, like your students from spring of 2024 and they've graduated, right? So that things like that, don't worry about. Now, if you get in there and you say, well, I work in life sciences, but these are all humanities organizations, well, that we do want to know about, right? Because you should be supporting people in life sciences. Now, if you see that you're supporting a ton of people in life sciences and you don't think you're supporting that many people, that's okay. Because remember, I was saying you might have all of this, you know, all of these different orgs, but internally you'll need to kind of decide, okay, John does these orgs, Sally does these orgs, Susie does these orgs, right? So don't worry about that part. But if it's looking real wonky, we do want to know about that. We don't have the QR code, do we? Did we forget that again? We have a QR code in the other room. What did we do yesterday, Lauren? Just write your name. Okay. So once we get in the tenant, we're going to pull some reports that'll show you the orgs you support. And again, if things are looking real wonky, or if you don't have any security at all, you can't do things, then we'll just come around. We'll jot your name down and we'll let Lindsay know. All right. So now I'm going to get in and I'm going to show you a couple reports that you can pull to see the workers that you support, the different organizations that you support. Again, you can follow along with me, or you can wait. We'll take a couple minutes and complete this activity, or we'll give you time to complete this activity. My screen a little bit. Okay. So the first thing we're going to do is view the organizations you belong to. Okay, so I'm going to go to my profile. I'll click View Profile. And over on the left, I'm going to click this Job tab. And then this tab right up here that says Organizations. Mine is only showing my supervisory organization, but yours will show a lot. And that's simply because, again, for training purposes, we just hired her in. We didn't really give her anything else. So this goes back to that first core concept we were talking about. You should all see your supervisory organization, which again, don't tell, but it's the most important. But you also will see your cost center. You will see your location organization. You will probably see other organizations as well. You'll see kind of a long list. Okay, so again, this is simply at its core, it's a way to group employees within Workday. Supervisory organization and cost centers are the ones you are going to use the most. You can also go over to the right. So we're on the organizations tab. If you go to the right and click support roles, this is who supports you. So if you look on the left, that assignable role. So some of these, you know, I even personally, I'm not sure exactly what their role might be in supporting you, but comp partner, right? Like I believe most of those are your comp COE members. HR business partner, right? If you wanted to know who is my HR business partner, those names are listed there. Who is my HR operations specialist? Of course, who's my manager? You should obviously know that too. So this is telling me as Harper HR who supports me for different activities within BYU. All right, so that's all about me, the orgs that I'm in, the people who support me. Now I want to know, who do I support? So I'm going to go, I'm just going to click the BYU logo, go back to the home screen, and now we're going to run two different reports. The first one is called My Supporting Roles. So I'm going to use the search bar and I'm going to type in My Supporting Roles and hit enter. And it's this first report that pulls up here. So my supporting roles is going to show me all of the organizations that I support in my HR business partner role. So let me explain kind of how to read this report. So again, if you look all the way over on the right, organization roles I fulfill, mine says HR business partner, yours says either HR business partner or ops specialist or manager. And then over here, role 4, this is the supervisory organization. Okay, so every supervisory organization also has a name. These names probably make a lot more sense to you than they do to me. But what I kind of hone in on is the name that's in the parentheses. That's the manager, right? So this is Victor's supervisory organization. This is Michelle's supervisory organization. This is Mark's supervisory organization. This is telling me I am HR business partner for everybody in Mark's org, everybody in David Smith's org, Kevin's org, right? I have a ton because I think I'm like at the top level, so I support everybody. You hopefully don't have 921 orgs. Yes.
So for the next 5 weeks, should this be correct or is this based on?
Based on April. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
The top three by.
Exactly. Exactly. Yep. Yep.
17.
Okay. So I'm going to run one more report and then we'll walk around. We can answer any questions. So this one is showing me orgs I support. I personally like this other one better because it shows me workers I support. I actually get employee names. So if you type up here, workers I support. Now, I typed in workers I support and my screen looks like this. It's pulling up to me what looks like some random employees.
It was just my support.
Okay, so listen up to get this question a lot. Workday at its core is thinks that when you type something into the search bar, you are looking for a person. It just thinks that you, if you're typing anything in, the first thing that it thinks you're going to try to search for is a person. So if you look over on the left, these are your search categories. So you can see people is that top one. So that's why it's because at the very beginning, whatever you type in, it's going to try to find a person or people that have some kind of connection to whatever you're typing in that search bar. So if you are getting people like me, you can click this link that says tasks and reports, and that'll just give you tasks and reports that are based on whatever you put in the search bar. So when I click workers I support, the first thing it's going to do is ask you to select your role. So if you click in that search bar, and then down here at the bottom, select my roles, it'll give you your options. Yours might only have one option, might say either HR business partner or HR ops specialist. Might also say manager if you're a manager. Mine says primary recruiter, which we'll talk about later when we get into recruiting.
Did
You get there?
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're completely
Review
lost.
that.
So workers I support.
What's that?
And then it's.
But it's sort of like the report, it's not giving me that option.
Yep, so did you select tasks and reports over here?
I don't see that many.
It doesn't come up as an option.
Okay. So can we break for the activity? So this is just a demo for now. Let me finish up this demo and then we'll break for an activity, okay? So workers I support. Select your role. So again, go ahead and I'm going to select HR business partner. You can select ops specialist, whatever you have in that dropdown, and then click OK.
Yeah.
And this is going to pull, essentially it's the same data as orgs I support, but now I get all of the employee names. Okay. So I get the worker, which would be the name of the employee, and then the supervisory organization that they are in. Again, I am like up at the top level of BYU supporting everybody. So that's why I have 24,000 employees I support. Hopefully you don't have that many. But again, it's going to show you all of the names of the individuals in the supervisory organizations that you support.
So if you want to sort that data to say, okay, I don't want to see everything, I want to see what's in music.
Exactly.
that.
Yep.
Would I just pull it down in Excel?
So you can, but you also, if you just come to the top, this like gray, so I'm just gonna search by supervisory organization. So in this report, if I just click up here in the header, then you can filter. Yep. Yep. So you can put it like in under value, you can just type in a manager's name just to see everybody in their org or yeah, however you want to sort it. Okay, so now we're on page 2, organizations and jobs. So we're gonna do 1.4, 1.5, 1.6, and 1.7. We're gonna take just a couple minutes. For sake of time, I do want to make sure we get through all the content today. So I am gonna keep going. We'll have, again, if we didn't get around to your question, again, we'll have a lot of other opportunities to break for activities, so. Want to make sure your questions are answered, or at least jotted down before we leave today. So the next core concept, we'll talk about business processes. I've already kind of touched about this a little bit, and we'll see this in action in Workday. So I consider this one of Workday's like best powerhouse features, right? So there are hundreds of business processes in Workday. A business process has an initiator, right? So I'm going to go in and initiate a termination. I don't know why I keep using terminate. It's so negative, but it's just a very straightforward process, right? I'm going to initiate a termination. Let's say we're terminating somebody because they won the lottery and they're just doing wonderful. I'm going to initiate that termination and it's going to route somewhere, right? So a business process has an initiation step and then it goes somewhere, right? So it might go somewhere for approval. It might go somewhere, there might be a pay implication. So it needs to go to payroll. It might need to go to the compensation department. It might need to go to the benefits department, right? So within Workday, we can build out these processes that automatically route to the right person or people for approval, review, action, whatever it might be, again, based on the security or the type of employee that we are acting upon, and then also, of course, based on the organization. So for example, if I were to, maybe I'm in the COE or maybe I am in another department and I'm transferring an employee to your department, well, maybe that'll route to you or somebody in your area because, again, it's in your organization. So security, again, always kind of is wrapped up into all of these different concepts. But at its core, a business process will automatically route tasks to responsible roles related to security. And condition rules ensure the correct process occurs every time. So the best example of this, I would say, is hire, right? So there is technically one big hire process, right? To hire an employee at BYU is one big process, right? But we all know what needs to happen when you hire a full-time faculty different than when you hire a full-time staff, than when you hire a part-time student, than when you hire a part-time adjunct. So there are what's called condition rules built into Workday to make sure that these processes route accordingly. And I kind of think of condition rules as if-then statements. So if this is a full-time faculty hire, then route to this person to launch this specific kind of background check. If this is a student hire, route to this specific person to, I don't know, check, make sure they're a student, whatever it might be, right? So condition rules ensure that the correct process happens every time based on the type of transaction. This is a very simple, which I like, a simple example of a business process. An employee requests an absence. So I submit in Workday, I want to take vacation day, next Friday. It routes to my manager. My manager approves it. I receive a little notification, my bell icon saying, your absence request has been approved. So in your role as HR business partner or ops specialist, you will get things in your inbox, your My Tasks, that you will either have to approve or potentially maybe send back or probably very sparingly deny. So when you approve a task through your My Tasks, it is just that, right? It's approved, it moves forward to the next step in the process. You can also send things back. So maybe something comes to you, maybe it's a compensation change or whatever it might be, and you read through it and you realize, ooh, there's some data that's incorrect or some things you have questions on. Of course, you can pick up the phone and talk to the person or, walk over to their desk if you'd like. You can also click the send back button and it'll go back to the initiator or back to that last person in the process. And you can leave a little comment. Hey, I think your comp is outside of the range. This isn't what we discussed, whatever the case may be. Deny completely cancels the business process. So we use this very, very cautiously, right? So if there's just something wrong with it, maybe a mistake, or we need to update the amount or something like that, definitely recommend you just send it back, make the adjustment, and then move it forward. Because deny, again, completely stops the process. You would then need to go back in, or the initiator would need to go back in and start over. Errors and alerts. So my understanding and my experience from back in my PeopleSoft days is that sometimes PeopleSoft error messages just look like Greek, right? They make no sense. No one knows what they mean. That is not the case in Workday. In Workday, the error messages and the alerts are typically very understandable. So an error is red, and typically this means you missed a required field. If you get an error, you won't be able to submit the process. It'll stop you. And like I said, typically it's because you missed a field that needs to be entered. An alert is just almost like a caution, right? So the best example I have of this is when you are initiating a hire, submitting a hire, you will put in the compensation information. And if the compensation information, let's say the salary amount, is outside of the range for that position, you'll get an alert, and it'll pop up and it'll say the information entered is out of the range. Now you can still submit it. You can submit it forward, pass go, collect $200. It's not stopping you, but it's warning you, saying, hey, what you entered is outside of the normal comp range. So the message here is just, if you get an error or an alert, just read it. It's, like I said, they should be very self-explanatory, user-friendly, not like what you see today in PeopleSoft. All right, any questions about that? Okay. So we're going to talk about a couple of terms. This is really, now we're kind of just getting into Workday language. Once we get in and look at positions and build out our job requisition, you'll see these in the system. So time type, worker subtype, time type, worker type, and worker subtype. So Workday identifies employees based on a combination of these items. So a time type is full-time or part-time. Those are the only two options. You're either full-time, 40 hours a week, or part-time. A worker type is also only two options. You're either a contingent worker or you're an employee. We'll talk about contingent workers in just a minute. Contingent worker just means you are not paid by BYU. I am a contingent worker. Worker subtypes get a little bit deeper into what you're probably used to seeing today. So if my worker type is employee, these are your various worker subtypes. So you would be a faculty, you'd be staff, you'd be student, you'd be seasonal, you'd be executive. Now, all of these could also be part-time or full-time, right? Time type is separate. So a part-time faculty would essentially be an adjunct, right? So adjunct would fall under faculty. Student, of course, self-explanatory. Staff could be part-time or full-time. So worker type, employee, worker subtype, any of these options here. Now, if my worker type is contingent worker, here are the different subtypes for contingent workers. This could be an independent contractor like myself, right? Philanthropies, volunteers. The idea about a contingent worker, these are pre-approved individuals. These are not paid by BYU. And that, what we mean by that is we're not on payroll, right? I'm not paid by Workday payroll, right? Of course, contractors, BYU is still paying for, but it's coming out of more purchasing, right? Contract pay. We're not paid by BYU payroll. Okay. Contingent workers, if you put a contingent worker in Workday, you're basically giving them some provisioning, or they need some provisioning access. So I am in your current system because I have a net ID. I need obviously access to your systems, access to certain buildings. Not all contingent workers or not all, contractors would need access to things like that, right? Questions on that?
Is 3/4 still a thing?
So it is a thing, but it's not actually indicated in Workday. It would still either be part-time or full-time. So 3/4 time would be part-time, right? Part-time, yeah.
Are all of your slides available?
They will be, yep.
You can go-
Yep, I believe they'll be posted tomorrow. Yep, absolutely. All right. So we're going to talk about the job catalog now. I think we've got just a few more slides, and then we'll hop in and get into the tenant a little bit more. And then we will take a formal break here in a little bit as well. I know we've been going for a little while. So the job catalog is really just our fancy formal way of talking about all of these different positions and all of the data that's associated with them. So we've already talked about positions, which is over there on the far right. So again, think of your job catalog as all of the various types of employees and positions and data around those positions that we have here at BYU. The way that Workday groups these is into first by job family group. So a job family group, right, is kind of an overarching umbrella, right? I think I heard Rob describe this as like the nestled Russian dolls, where like one's in another and another, and another. So your big overarching one is your job family group. Then within there is a job family. And then in the job family are the individual job profiles. So for example, we got a couple different examples. So one job family group is faculty. Right, so faculty is a big kind of umbrella group. Now, the smaller, the little nestled doll underneath that would be the job family, would be faculty professorial. Right, that's a pretty hard word for me to say. So that's another kind of category within the overarching faculty job family group. So we've got our job family. Then underneath there, we have our individual job profiles. So a job profile is different than a position, which is different than a worker, right? A job profile is attached to a position, and the job profile is basically telling us what type of job is this. So in the faculty example, that top row, the job profile would be a regular faculty professorial profile. Then that position is, in this case, still is a regular faculty. It's got your position number. So you see the, what is that, a 8-digit number, 1000, blah, blah, blah. Now, this is where on that position, we could say this is a regular faculty English, regular faculty psychology, right? This is where the actual position title would live. Let's talk about the second example. I think this one's probably a little bit more straightforward. Big job family group is information technology, IT, right? The job family is software development, but within that family, you could have a software development specialist 1, software development specialist 2, software development specialist 3, software development manager, maybe, right? All of those profiles have essentially a slightly different job description, right? So a development specialist 1 is a little bit different than a development specialist 3, right? But again, it's still just the profile that has specific attributes about that job. Then the position, I could say, this software development specialist 3. I don't know, maybe I would call it software development specialist 3 - web developer or something like that. Student workers, I think, is the area where you might see the most differences. And that's simply because you all have so many student workers, right? But again, student worker umbrella, student worker job family, the profiles, and I don't know how high you go, but you've got student worker 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, however high you go, right? And again, you all know this a lot better than me. Each one of those levels probably has a slightly different comp rate, right? Slightly different maybe experience level that's needed. But student worker one now is used all across the board. And you can see in the position, that's where we're gonna indicate, okay, this is a student worker, it's a custodial worker. This is a student worker in dining. This is a student worker in life sciences. This is a student worker in the bookstore. Right, all of the different places where you might have a student worker one, pay range, experience level, but then you can actually, on your position, you can have your specific job description, course title. Okay, so far?
Your positions of where you have like custodial worker one, and we have it say like our division and within our department, there are several divisions.
Yes, yep, absolutely, yep. You can, and we'll see this when we go to post the job rec, you can put in the title, however you need to title it. There we go. So how do we get an open position, right? So we've already talked about positions. And, you know, I think we already talked about, well, in order to hire someone, in order to even start the process of a job requisition, you have to have a vacant position. Vacant position either comes from termination, right? So a employee leaves, right? So then we have a vacant seat. It could be like right now, you could just have some vacant positions. Maybe there are some newly budgeted positions that you haven't hired for yet. To actually create a position in Workday, that's going to be done by our central hiring offices. So you all here, you all can create job requisitions, so put the position on the rec, but the only folks that are actually creating or approving open or brand new positions is the hiring office. Now, what they've done for a go live is create these extra positions. They're calling them buffering positions in every organization that can be used at a future time. So I think they've created a ton of student worker positions because we know that those are hired all the time. There might be some others in there as well, but the hope is that there isn't any kind of backlog of, oh, I need to create a job rec or I need to hire a student and I don't have a vacant position, right? Everybody should have vacant positions at Go Live. But the key here is that this process, which this is a screenshot of how to actually create a position. Now, HR business partners do have access to go in and initiate this to say, I need 3 new trainer positions. It'll then route to the hiring office for approval. And then it won't actually be made available until it's approved by the hiring office. But you can initiate those. Business partners can initiate those. Again, the idea is that you shouldn't even have to, because there should be enough vacant positions in your organizations that you don't need to do that. Yeah.
So a faculty has one TA.
Mhm. Yeah.
And then all of a sudden they decide they need 2.
Yep.
So, but are they gonna have inside of their organization these empty
They
positions?
should. That's my understanding. Jill, do you have it? Jill or Catherine?
Full-time faculty or adjunct? What was your-
Full-time, either one, but full-time is what I was thinking.
Right, so when we go live, you will have all of your current positions. There are some extra built in for adjunct. They're preparing those for go live. So, right, if for some reason you did need a new position, you would have to do this request and it will go through the faculty compensation office.
He was asking about TA. What would that
Oh,
mean?
I'm so sorry. I thought you said faculty.
Well-
My
That
bad. I believe it's the same process though, is that they are trying to build everything that you will need in. But if you find yourself in a position where you need an additional TA, you'll just have to request it and that would go through the staff.
And is that by supervisory org? Is that your question? Is it
Okay,
at the
but-
college level and is it at the unit level?
Well, but the supervisory org, the professor, the faculty member has his own supervisory org,
Well,
right?
be falling under your chairs.
So, yeah,
The
so
business partner could do it for any supervisory org they support.
they can request it.
Correct.
Then I
Yeah.
have it.
Yeah.
You're saying, well, but if they're, so if we have those open positions, buffer positions
Yeah.
in our college. And so those could service music or art or design or any of our independent distinct
Mhm.
academic units. It would just come as a request from one of the managers, HR managers to
Mhm.
say, we need to hire this.
Yep, we need 4 more.
Or could they just go in, will they see it within their organization, go in and be able to turn that into a hire request because it's a position now?
Yeah, so we will talk about the expedited hires, I think week 2 or week 3. Do you know, can they do the expedited hire on TAs? Is a TA considered a student worker?
Yes.
It is, okay, then I think so. Student workers, you can do the hire process on a
So
student
those
worker.
buffer things, you don't have to, since that's a position that's sitting there and it's a student, it's a student hire.
Yep.
You would just go in and describe, like, whoever the hiring HR manager
Mhm.
is could go in and turn that into TA for,
Okay, so great question. So if you needed to edit the position, so like right now it's a student worker 1 and it needs to be a student worker 3, just use that example. So it's not exact, then that would need to go through and either edit position, which would need to go to the hiring office, or maybe you're like, well, no, I want to keep that and I just want a new one that's a student worker 4 or 5, whatever it might be.
depending on
Yep,
whether it meets like the wage range requirement.
Exactly. Yeah.
kind of what.
yes. And we'll go through all of that in 2 or week 3. Yeah, please.
Sure, I just feel like I need to clarify one thing, and I think you probably all know this, but when it comes to faculty, adjunct is a new position management, so what we're talking about is requesting new positions for adjunct, that's a thing, but it's not a thing for full-time faculty. You have FTE, you don't just get to request, that's a whole criminal process through President's Council, so I just wanted to make sure that was still clear.
No, thank you for saying that. You get a faculty, you get a faculty, you get a faculty.
Day is great.
All right, one more thing on this topic. So editing, freezing, or closing. So these are all processes that are done at the hiring office level. So these aren't initiated within the organization or within the units. But if you needed to, like what we were just talking about, edit, this was a supervisor or sorry, a student worker 1, but we really need a student worker 4. You could potentially work with the hiring office to edit a position. Closing positions. So my understanding is currently, if you're, I'm not going to need that for another little while, you'll close a position and then reopen it later. So in Workday, closing it is like closing, done, can never do it again. You would need to create a brand new position. So so we are not closing positions. It would be done super, super, super rarely. Like you're never going to teach, a certain subject ever again or something like that, right? So you will see, well, we're not doing terminations today, but I think week 5, when you do termination, there's even kind of an area in the term that is thankfully grayed out where you have the option to close the position. We try to make sure nobody even has that option. So of course, there might be a reason why you would close a position, but for now, if you're just, hey, I'm not going to use that for 6 months or a year, just leave it. It's okay if it's vacant. It's just better to have it there and be able to use it, hire into it, than close it and have to go through the process of creating a brand new one.
Everybody can do those 3 things?
No, only the hiring officers.
Oh.
Yes, yep. Now, closed position, the reason why we bring it up is because you will see it on the termination screen. Again, I believe it's grayed out, so you don't even have the option of doing it, which is great, but you might see it there. So just trying our best not to close positions going forward. All right, we're gonna go ahead and get started. So, what we're gonna do now, I'm gonna hop into the tenant and we're gonna look at some vacant positions. So if you are following along, or have been following along, I would ask that you just watch for right now, simply because we are working on trying to get some vacant positions loaded for you. Some of you already have vacant positions just by default, right? Just because you've got vacant positions in your organization or did in April. Others of you do not. So we're trying hard to get some positions loaded. Say that again. Okay. Okay, so here's what we're gonna do. Let me hop back in. Okay. So I want to look up what vacant positions I have in my org or maybe orgs that I support. So there's a lot of different ways you can do this. My favorite, the way that I like, is through the org chart. So I'm going to go back to my profile. I'm going to click the teams, the little org chart icon to go to the organizational chart. So remember, I as Harper HR, I report to Max. Max has that little 24 in the blue bubble. So that means he's got 24 either positions or people that report to him, right? So 24, they might not all be filled. So if I scroll down, anything that has obviously a employee's name and or a photo, these are employees, right? So we've got Cami Campus, Harper HR, Captain Hook, Emily Employee, Jack Sparrow, Lightning McQueen, right? Now, as I keep scrolling down, now I'm getting not employee names and titles and locations. I'm getting just these numbers, right? These are vacant positions. So when you look in the org chart, you will see the same thing, right? You'll see both your filled positions or filled positions within orgs that you support and vacant positions. So the way to tell it's vacant, it's going to start with that position number. It's not going to have a photo and it's not going to have an employee name. You can always click show more because again, Max has like 24 or 26, so it won't always all show up on the screen, but he's got lots and lots of vacant positions in his organization. So I'm going to go ahead and just click on one of these. I'm going to do this training staff right here, 7550229. So this is telling me, well, right away, I can see up at the top, training staff 5 in parentheses unfilled, right? So pretty self-explanatory, it's an unfilled position. And this is where you can kind of play around with some of the features on the position. So right away, position overview, this first tab, I see the supervisory organization that it's in, right? Max Managers Org, which is titled Training Staff Yellow. I see the various organizational assignments. So the company, the cost center, right? Of course, the supervisory org is Max. I see the title. This is Training Staff 5. And then you can kind of play around with some more of the details, right? If you click on hiring restrictions, this is where you'll get the job profile. So again, there's a difference between my position title, which right now is Training Staff -5, which again, this is just simply because we were creating a ton of these. So it's just Training Staff 5. It could say, maybe for you, it says, Trainer -Life Sciences or Training Assistant -Humanities. Okay, so that's where you have kind of the flexibility in the title, but under hiring restrictions, that profile is Training Assistant 1. Now I can then click, remember, if it's blue, you can do, right? So I can click on that Training Assistant 1 link and I can look at the data on the job profile. Okay, so job profile gives me my management level. This is an individual contributor. It gives me my job family. It gives me my job category. Under compensation, it gives me my compensation grade. Okay. So go ahead and play around with this a little bit. So here's what we want you to do though. We're still finishing up loading some vacant positions for you. You can do a couple different things. You can look up your organization. So go to your profile, go to the org chart, poke around and look to see where you might have vacant positions in your org. And again, right now we're just looking at these position details. So if you're following along in the activity, it might say find a staff. Right now, we kind of don't care. So we're just kind of looking at vacant positions. So you can look at whatever position you want. If you are having trouble finding any, just look up Harper HR, and I've got a ton under mine, so you're welcome to look at the vacant positions in my org. But we just want you to play around with looking at the vacant positions, looking at job profiles, looking at the position details, and then we'll, in just a little bit, we'll actually go in and build out a job requisition. We'll all use a vacant position. So recruiting. So again, we've gone through most of this already, and I love this slide because it really kind of shows the progression. So we have a job profile, right? Training assistant 1, student worker 1, student worker 2. We attach that job profile to a position. So position is training assistant dash humanities, position number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Then we attach the position to a job requisition. So I'm going to create a job requisition for this position. That job requisition is created by you all potentially and then submitted. Then the hiring office will post that job to our various career sites so we can gather our candidates. Then a lot that happens between the top 2 steps, which we'll do next week. And then we hire, right? So job profile is attached to a position, is attached to a rec, is then posted, and then eventually we get our candidates and we hire. Now I will say, and again, talk about this next week or the week after, there is a simplified way to hire students. So you do not have to post every student job. You can if you want to. You don't have to post. There's an expedited hire process. You still need a vacant position, but you don't have to go through the requisition process for student workers.